my life that I've been able to speak the word, which encourages and uplifts people everywhere for a while. And I first came into religious science a very long time ago, almost 40 years ago. And I happened to be in this particular ministry 38 years ago when I was on my very first vacation in Santa Fe. I came to the center here. So it's a real privilege and honor to get to be back and to see new people and meet new folks and to see some old friends as well. So my goodness, happy to be here. No matter how complex our life experience is or our searching is, without an anchor, without a way of working, life can be most baffling, challenging, and hard to understand. This is the history of religion itself over the last 50,000 years. And it's the history of our own spiritual journeys, yes? I'm sure that everybody here has been through a lot, and that you've arrived here after a really deep, broad, and extensive search. I know that's true for me. What is probably true of everybody here is that nobody was born into religious science. Is that true? So we all had to take a very brave and daring journey in order to get here. In most ancient times, people were quite mystified by why things happen. Why do the aspen leaves turn yellow yesterday? Who did that? Somebody must have done that. And that's the most ancient beginning of research and to try to understand why things happen, why things change, why life works out easy for you and not so easy for me. Comma, am I being punished? Comma, if so, who is punishing me and why? So humankind has gone through this astonishing long search. There's been a simple answer to it, which we have known for over 4,000 years, and yet everybody has to discover it for themselves. That's one of the ways we get to hold on to it, because it's an original discovery that we get to have. There's a line of poetry from an English poet named Philip Larkin that I rather like, and he writes just one simple line. He says, "In everyone there lies a sense of life lived according to love." For whatever reason, that registered really deeply within me the very first time I heard it, and I never forgot it. And I think that also in every one of us, there lives a sense of life lived according to love in all the different ways you might express that. We know that what God is love. Love is the self-givingness of spirit. These are the basics that I learned so many years ago. And I have to tell you, not only do I not get tired of thinking about it and talking about it, but I get re-enrolled every time I ask myself to think about it with seriousness and joy and with clarity. I feel like I'm discovering something all over again, and this has happened every day of my life for the last 40 years. Again, as we go through our experiences and try this church and this meditation and that meditation and this high colonic or that wheatgrass implant, or I shouldn't say that on a Sunday morning, that might be a little bit too much, but we've all done that, What we're looking for really by the time we get here is not somebody to do it for us. And I hope that your practice and your understanding and your study has gotten you to a place where you know that you need to let everybody off the hook, because nobody is responsible for your growth, your healing, your wholeness. but yourself, right? What we are still looking for, however, now that we know that there's not an outer God who's going to do anything for us, but we're looking for a way of working. We're looking for a way of working. I encountered that expression, a way of working, first in the theater. It's an actor's expression. In the creation of a character. Just keep it going. Okay. In the creation of any character, an actor must have a way of working so that they have confidence to move forward with it. It has been adopted by organizational development folks and a whole other variety of people now. The expression a way of working has gotten quite common to the extent that I asked the Chat GPT to write a definition of what is a way of working for organization development. And this is what the chat has to say about that. And I kind of loved it because it was so specific and exactly what I wanted it to be. A way of working offers a meaningful process and clear principles. A way of working is a blueprint for responding to life's experiences, operating within a given framework and expecting an outcome. Here are the steps of a way of working. You start with an experience or conflict. You ask, how will I work this? You will work this because you're relying on a known principle. You ask, what are my roles and responsibilities? What are my core practices? Finally, have I evolved? How fabulous is this? I'm going to read it again because I love actually just seeing this in print. This is the first time I've used artificial intelligence. A way of working offers a meaningful process with clear principles. A way of working is a blueprint for responding to life's experiences, operating within a given framework, expecting an outcome. Start, what is the experience or conflict? How will I work this? What is the known principle? What are my roles and responsibilities? What are my core practices? Have I evolved? This, God bless him, Dr. Holmes took a couple of 100 pages to give us a way of working. And it happens to be the science of mind. And the principle happens to be God. I'm going to see if I remember this from my original teacher, who was Dr. David Walker. I believe in God, one indestructible, absolute, self-existent cause. I believe that the kingdom of God is within, and we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. That is the framework that we're working with. That is how the cosmos continues to unfold in an orderly direction. That is how, when we stop making foolish choices, and I have made the most extravagant and expensive foolish choices and survived than anybody I know, but we will continue to unfold in a healthy and whole direction if we will stop making poor choices and live in harmony in accord with principle. The way of working that we are given is so elegant that I honestly, I feel re-enrolled just to talk about the very, very, very basic stuff. Because, we spent decades in our churches trying to entertain each other and to knock it out of the ballpark and to have our music blow the roof off. You're not paying enough money to have a Taylor Swift experience. That's not why you're here. If you want that, go see a Beyonce show for $1,500. But if you want a way of working your life, you have it. And we gather on Sundays to support each other in remembering it. In this elegant breakdown, anytime I have an experience of any kind, a conflict of any kind, the first thing I need to do is recognize it and name it. Where will I live if I have the opportunity to be mobile? Where will I live? How will I work this? What is my known principle? My known principle is what Dr. Holmes said when he wrote, "Life will be to me what I am to it." Life will be to me what I am to it. And here's the thing, and this is the beauty part. When you look at any truth statement, no matter how simple you think it is, and simplicity is evidence of the most advanced teaching, if you follow any truth statement to its logical conclusion, it will lead to profound insights, and it will also make astonishing demands. If you follow it to its logical conclusion, and again, that's why we continue to study. That's why we support each other in our adventures. So, if life will be to me what I am to it, what am I? What am I doing? What am I saying? What am I thinking? How am I acting? And am I in integrity with the known operating principle for the entire cosmos? Or how far out of alignment am I with it? It's always the question that we want to ask ourselves. If the principle is, life will be to me what I am to it, well, what are my responsibilities? Is to wake up and to assume full responsibility here. This is my life. This is my life. And who knows what happens after we're no longer here, right? And even if you get to come back, you're not going to come back as you. This is it. This is the only time you get to be you. And so what is the fullest possible expression of you that you can imagine? And that's never going to be what is the costliest expression of me that I can imagine. But how do I increase my capacity? How do I increase, in a computer word, how do I increase my bandwidth? So that I'm not happy. Do you remember when no, you don't remember when computers first started. Bless your heart. You did, okay. In the olden days, we had a thing called dial-up. And we would go to a website and it would go, right? And we have increased capacity over the last couple of decades. So now it seems that everything is available instantly. How do it happen? I don't know. What our work is to increase our capacity. So anything that comes through us with no diminishment, with no resistance on our part from mind of God to my idea to its expression. And that's my responsibility, to get real with my life and to continually ask myself on a daily basis, what am I doing about A, B, or C? Core practice. What is my core practice? Core practice is treatment, right? Now that we know about neuroplasticity of the brain for sure, we know that anytime that we have a new idea, something new is being created. An idea is a thing. When I was at Unity churches, we would teach the kids a thought plus a feeling equals a thing. And it's no different here. But a thought plus the feeling and holding who was Neville? Does anybody remember Neville? He was sort of a first generation New Thought writer. He said, the secret of life is sustaining the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Isn't that elegant? The secret of life, the secret of healing, the secret of manifesting, the secret of loving, the secret of living is holding the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So our way of working is that we get this idea and we sustain the feeling of its reality through spiritual mind treatment. Are we still calling it spiritual mind treatment? Okay. Yeah. I know some things have changed since 1979. But to sustain the feeling of the wish fulfilled is done through treatment. It's through constant affirmation of simple, elegant, provable truth statements. So the brain actually becomes different. We increase our capacity. And from the mind of God, again, through my interpretation of that idea, it comes into the fullness of experience. This is not complicated. This is very simple. And it is the hardest thing in the world to do. To keep faithful to. And again, I'm a believer in church. I'm a believer in gathering, in community. And I don't mind telling you, I think that our churches, the way they are now, is the best possible place for anybody who's an AARP member or better to be. Because it is the richest time of life. It is the most creative time of life. And all the activity goes on up here. There's no heavy lifting anymore. There's no heavy lifting anymore. So core practices are vigilance, treatment, reading if that's meaningful for you, journaling if that's meaningful for you, whatever is meaningful for you. But the thing is, it's a way of working, so you got to work it. You've got to do the activity. Because as it is written somewhere, you can have anything you want. God, the God of your understanding, will allow you to have any experience that you choose to have, but you got to name it. You have to decide what it's going to be. Over and over and over, until it is the fact of your life, and there is evidence that you have evolved. We have a complete and a full way of working. Every situation that any human being would encounter, including things that are really, really hard. Now, one of the things that's important for me as a teacher to talk about, and this may not be your worldview, and I support everybody in having a healthy worldview. But do our thoughts cause everything that happens to us? And the answer is no. The answer is no. It sounds a bit facetious, but I often say, like, did the dinosaurs really want to go extinct and cause a meteor to crash into planet Earth? Is it their responsibility? Things happen in a manifest world. We're not that powerful to create everything in our world. There are such real facts as biology, as geography, as random and wanton violence. This happens. We don't create that. And yet, what? We all know we are 100% responsible for how we respond to these things. And because we have a way of working, you can. And once you really grab a hold of this, you will never, I don't need to say this to you, I need to say it out loud. Once you really assume responsibility for your own life, and you know that you have a way of working that you can trust, because if you don't get the results that you wanted, you go back and you start again and you try different ingredients, right? But you have a way of working that you can trust. If you will do that, you will never feel victimized. Ever. Which is the worst possible human experience. There was a book that was published in 1892 called Lessons in Truth by H. Emily Cady. She was a homeopathic doctor who lived in New York City. And it was the first book that the Unity movement published in 1892. And the very first chapter of her book is Lessons in Truth. The name of the chapter is Bondage or Liberty? Which will you choose? It's the story of Exodus. You're going to be enslaved to circumstance, or you're going to make a noble effort and go. It's your choice. Going back to where we started, and most of us don't know that we have a way of working. Most of us don't even know that we have a choice. A choice about how will I embrace the decade now? How will I? It's your choice. I have decided that my next 10 years, from 70 to 80, are going to be the most creative years of my life. Bless you. I take that as an affirmation. They're going to be the most creative years of my life. There's certain things I'm not interested in anymore. There's certain things I don't want to do, or I don't want to do again. And there's certain things that I haven't done yet. So I'm going to go for it. And because I have a way of working, it's all an art project. It's all an experiment. It's all an art project. And when you have a way of working, you also know that there's no such thing as failure. You cannot fail. How can you fail your own life? In one way, if you don't grab a hold of it. I am preaching to the choir today, and that's always fun. I know you're not really worried about going to hell, so it's so nice not to have that conversation. But it is so good and affirming and re-enrolling to talk about the very, very basic and simple and profound truths that we have been freely given. It's just here, it's out here. And for any of our churches, the doors are open, and I bless our movement that these churches are open for anybody who wants to come in without any expectation or demand. It makes me truly devoted to our movement, one of the many things. So I will ask you, I'd like to give a homework assignment. What are you going to tackle? I can't decide it for you because I don't know you. And I'm not here to read your beads and tell you what you ought to be doing or what you ought to be working on. But this is a unique experience on this planet. And time is the only limited quantity that we really have. And none of us know what that is. So be bold, right? Enjoy your life as best you can. And then when we want to create something new, you have a way of working. You know what it is. And if you have a challenge that's really hard, you have a way of working it. I belong to other healing modalities and several 12-step groups. And in one of them, we say, it works if you work it, right? It works if you work it. Counter to religious programming, the next line is, you're worth it. You're worth it. So work it. And in that way, you will heal, prosper, and bless not only yourself, but all people everywhere. God bless you, friends. Thank you for your invitation.